Vikings and Seahawks and Kirk Cousins in Seattle. This is the first play of the fourth quarter on a second down. Cousins, this is not a bad throw, but it's picked.
Not at all. It's the right timing and it's the right ball placement. Stephon Diggs gets his hands on this football. It's really just a good play by Flowers to get his left arm in, catch the ricochet.
So the Seahawks are up 17 points. Figure the game is over? Well, you'd be figuring wrong.
Great pocket movement by Kirk Cousins. Just kind of stares down the slot receiver. The safety drives it, finds Treadwell uncovered.
That made it a 10-point game. Then the Seahawks would fumble and the Vikings would move it in the red zone, and there's another nice play.
And I really like this ball placement. Listen, it's 3rd and goal. Throw it up high to Kyle Rudolph. Give him at least a chance. He only needed one hand. Big touchdown for Minnesota.
They would miss the extra point, so they're down 34-30. Loud in the building after a Seattle punt on a 3rd and 3. Vikings incomplete.
Well, it's 3rd and 3. They're going to play their cover 3 zone. I don't like the fact that they went for it on 4th and 3, Greeny.
They did indeed with 2:31 to go, and it's Cousins. You didn't like the call. You didn't like the play either.
It's the same exact coverage. You got to anticipate this coverage. Get into a bunch set. Get into a stack set. Make sure this ball goes to Stephon Diggs or Kyle Rudolph, your 2 best offensive weapons in that moment.
Instead, in that moment, Cousins falls to 0-8 on Monday Night Football, and his fourth quarter struggles just part of his overall second half struggles. Completed just 43% of his passes in quarters 3 and 4, the second lowest second half completion percentage in his Vikings career.
So then, Dan and Mike, I pose this question to you. Is this your king, said the Vikings? This your king? This is your guy?
Listen, Kirk Cousins had a really good year. Like, there's no running from that. Did you watch lead into the game last night? It was, hey, your stats are almost as good as Russell Wilson's. Why aren't you in the same conversation? And I've been outspoken that he's kind of conquered some of those demons of his past this season already. Went on to primetime down in Dallas and beat them, and then had that big comeback from the fourth quarter against Denver last week. Now, the question is, Kirk, you've been a really good player. You're having a really good season. Are you going to become great? Are you going to become a championship caliber quarterback for us over this next 4 weeks? That's the biggest thing for Kirk Cousins right now. This next 4 weeks, when you're going to finish the season, your divisional opponents against the Packers and the Bears, are you going to play championship-level quarterback play for us? Because right now, you've been really good, but it won't cut it in Minnesota.
But you know what's remarkable, Dan? Since week 5, he's actually led the NFL in pass rate. He's actually done a lot better than people realize. And the way this offense is set up, he just needs to be a point guard. Dalvin Cook, they're going to get back Thielen pretty soon. They got Stephon Diggs and Alex Madison, a rookie running back. He doesn't have to be great. He just has to keep distributing the ball. This team is set up where they can win it all because they have a much better defense than the Green Bay Packers, and they can be balanced on offense.
I love that you guys are into numbers right now because I've got another one for you. You compared him to Russell Wilson. They're both making $28 million. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins, when his team is trailing, is 28th in the league in QBR. Mitch Trubisky, the numbers say, is a guy you'd want under center if you're trying to orchestrate a come-from-behind win over Kirk Cousins.
And that's why I disagree. I don't think he could be a point guard. He's got to be a finisher. We've seen him be a point guard in his career. He's been a good point guard in his career. They paid him that money, and for them to go and be into the playoffs and make a run, he's got to be more of a Russell. He better finish.
But Dan,
football
I
games.
see it differently. You want to pass to score and run to win, and Dalvin Cook and his explosiveness will allow them to make explosive plays in the run game.
Playing point guard for them won't be good enough.
And $28 million, look, that's a ton of money. We know that. But the context is that's getting passed by a lot of guys. He is a good quarterback. They can win a championship because they have enough pieces around him. And he's done a really good job of managing this team.
He is an excellent quarterback when his team is winning. He is 6th in the league in QBR when his team is. That is a huge, significant swing. Speaking of which, let's talk about another one of Dan's favorite topics, Greeny.
Yes, exactly. Let's get to the Eagles and Carson Wentz. We're actually not going to talk about Carson Wentz. On Sunday, with a chance to grab a share of the lead in the NFC East, you saw what happened to the Eagles. They gave up 365 yards to Ryan Fitzpatrick and lost to the Dolphins. Yesterday, Coach Doug Peterson still searching for answers.
I'm disgusted. I'm mad. I'm angry, and I'm probably more so mad at myself about our discipline, our consistency, the lack of that showed up in this football game. That's on me. I felt like, and I think most people felt like, we were the better football team. They played harder than we did, and that's why I said that I'm disappointed that they wanted this one a little bit more than we did, and they made the plays and we didn't.
Wow. What the actual heck? I mean, is that me, or is that a way of saying my players weren't ready to play this game and I'm going to pretend I'm taking responsibility for it? But the reality is they wanted it more than we did. That's a coach of a team playing against a team that had 2 wins And in this case, the Eagles have absolutely everything sitting in front of him, and he's saying their players wanted it more than we did.
When I hear Doug Peterson talk, I go back to Lane Johnson 5, 6, 7 weeks ago after a loss when he said, we got to become more accountable on our football team. We can't have guys going late to practice. This is an organizational issue right now. Like, let's be honest. This is not a December thing. This is an August thing. This goes back to training camp and this team lacking details in training camp, lacking accountability in training camp. And it's like water. It will find the easiest path of resistance. And the leaks on this football team have shown week by week by week, and kind of all of them were exposed on Sunday against the Dolphins.
I don't think it's a head coach issue. I think it's as much of a quarterback issue. Carson Wentz just hasn't been the same player. His yards per attempt is 6.5. It's the fourth lowest in the NFL.
I got to do this fight again, huh?
Well,
I got to do this Carson Wentz fight again.
But he's not as big as Swagoo, so it's an easier fight.
Thanks, Greg. I've been working on that.
He should play corner?
No. The point is, he has not been the same player. When he gets the ball down the field, he's not as accurate. He's not as productive. Now, in fairness, Deshaun Jackson's only playing 3 games, Dan, but he has not been the same player. His consistency down the field isn't the same as what it was 2 years ago.
Mike, his receivers stink.
I mean, you want to tell me they hung their whole season on Deshaun Jackson? I mean, it seems that way, but that's a horrendous decision by the front office if that's what happened. If the offense couldn't function without a deep threat, and the only deep threat they could find was the 33-year-old Deshaun Jackson, then that's an institutional issue. This was all we heard about the Eagles all offseason. All you heard from around the league, people who looked at the team, this is a stacked roster. This might be the deepest roster in the league, et cetera, et cetera. Didn't turn out to be that. And as you point out,
and that goes to an argument of why
it goes beyond that as well.
But Carson Wentz should carry some of those injuries.
I think everybody carries this.
Can I just say one thing? I'm sorry, Big, but I feel like we've had the Carson Wentz conversation a million times. An NFL head coach whose team had absolutely everything hanging in the balance just went on the radio and said the Dolphins wanted it more than we did.
And
that's everybody's problem.
Exactly. That is an organizational problem. And in that city, when you're not playing with effort, that is a bad sign. People will not forgive that. They don't look towards talent. They look towards effort in Philly.
So Peterson said, I'm mad at myself. Right. Well, get in line, coach. I mean, a lot of people are mad at you. Is there any chance that when all of this is said and done, if they don't wind up winning this division, what's the fallout going to be?
Well, I think there'll probably be staff changes. I don't think there's a Doug Peterson change coming. I mean, this is 2 years removed from winning the first Super Bowl in franchise history, and that doesn't get forgotten. So, but I think that there could be a shakeup there. It could be a shakeup of roles in the front office. It could be a shakeup of, at the coordinator and assistant coach level. And certainly there's going to be a roster shakeup in terms of how they put the offense together around Carson Wentz going forward. Wentz is signed. He's there. He's the guy. It has to work with him. If it doesn't, then eventually everybody's going to be gone.
The other X factor is Frank Reich. When he was there, that offense was better. It was tighter. They were more productive. When he left, they got worse, and Indianapolis got a lot better.
Guys, they got to catch the football. Like, they're 3 drops away from having 3 more wins and sitting in first place. Catch the football.
But you know what, Dan? That's a great equalizer over the entire season for every team. We can always make excuses.
But when you are in the race for the number 1 spot in your division, and you've got 3 drops that have costed you football games, 2 of them happened this past weekend in the fourth quarter with your best player, Zach Ertz, who I love. But let's be honest, catch the football, and we're having a different conversation about the Eagles. That's the reality.
At the end of the day, you can both be right. Wentz is not playing at the level some would expect him to be capable of. Even you would have to acknowledge that. But the team has stunk on ice around him, and a lot of people, I think, have to take responsibility for that. Meanwhile, as we continue on Get Up, is Tom Brady finally losing the battle against time? Are the Patriots' offensive issues fixable? We have answers to all of those questions, plus a vintage rant from Dabo Sweeney. Is Clemson being held to a different standard in the college football playoff race? We'll answer that and more. We're just getting rolling. Get Up on ESPN.